almost there. I'm getting there. Maybe. Okay, there we are. Oh, how's everybody doing tonight? Yeah, good. Yeah, great. I heard blessed and highly favored for I stepped through the door. I believe in that 100%. I don't know about you, but I'm his favorite. Well, you guys know me, so I guess I'm gonna skip the introduction. Or I could. Yeah, thank you. There we go. Um, so right now we're working on step 3. Uh, and I do want to highlight for our live stream that if you did not watch last week's testimony, or were not here to see it, I highly recommend going back and watching that service, because there was so much power and movement in the Holy Spirit during that service. But anyways, to move on, so we're currently in step 3, right? And the first part of step 3, we learned, the key factor of step 3 is trust. And the first part of step 3, we learned about trusting in God. Step 3, does anybody know it? I don't even get it memorized. I had to go back and look. Step 3 is that we have decided to turn our lives and our wills over to the only higher power, Jesus Christ, right? So we're taking that step of faith is really what it is, and faith and trust go hand in hand. So last week, or not last week, but the last time we had a lesson, it was steps on learning to trust God. Tonight I want to talk to you guys about learning to trust other people. Has anyone in here, Ricky, don't count because I know you'll probably raise your hand on everything. Has anyone in here ever tried anything you would consider extreme? Bungee jumping, skydive. Okay, never mind. I thought Rick would be the one to raise his hand. No, Quentin's like, keep naming them. I'm just gonna keep my hand in there. I got the checklist. Hey, look, I'm not gonna lie. We went on vacation and we got kind of a tradition that we do that 4th of July we go to the beach to watch fireworks. And last year, of course, Gabriel's follows after his dad. He's a big chicken like I am. But the other 2 kids, you know, they have the banana boat rental. We can go out on the banana boat. Well, then they also have the parasailing over the ocean. And Blue and Cross both last year, like, would beat me and Paige down to go parasailing. Well, Paige is absolutely like, no, it ain't happening. She's a too much what if person. What if this? What if that? What if? She's like, no, ain't happening. Me, I'm a chicken. I'm like, I'm not doing it. Well, you got to have a parent with you to do it. So this year, we were out there, and I felt so bad because they were older, and yet once again, it was something, an experience they wanted to have, and they really wanted to do it. And, you know, they finally went back, and they stopped bothering us about it. Well, after they did, you know, we were sitting back in our chairs, and I was watching it. And I would watch people go out there, and I would watch them get on the boat. I'd watch them get out onto the parachute, watch them get reeled back in, person after person after person after person. And eventually, I started to build a trust within myself of that it was going to be okay. That I could trust these people have been doing this for so long. I've watched several people do it safely. It's going to be okay. So there's no bad ending to the story, I promise. It's a good ending. So through building that trust, I eventually said yes. Now, I'm not going to lie. It took them pretty much shoving me on the banana boat to get out there to the point of getting on the main boat to do the parasailing. But once I made my mind up, it happened. And, you know, once I got up there, it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever been a part of. It's quiet. It was still. You could just see all across the ocean. You could see the small people on the beach. You could look for the animals in the water. I mean, it was there was not a fear in me at that moment that I thought it would be. But I make that connection to say, in order to do things like that, you have to build a trust in others. Right? Like if you go bungee jumping, for instance. Quentin, that's one you raised your hand on. If you go bungee jumping, for an instance, some people just do it blindly, but most people that do it, they're going to have a trust. You've got to trust the person that is trained, that is connecting your cord, has actually checked the equipment that morning like they were supposed to. You got to trust that they have connected to you properly like they're supposed to. You got to trust that they have suited you with the proper, your size equipment that you're supposed to be wearing. You got to trust that the cord is going to, I guess, bounce when it's supposed to. My fear is always that it's not going to bunge. It's just going to keep going. You got to trust that you'd have somebody working that's not like Mason, that after you jumped decided they were going to take lunch break and just leave you hanging there by yourself. There's a lot. I'm making the connection between these extreme things that we decide to do in the fact that when we decide to do them, there's a lot of trust that's involved in trusting other people, right? Step 3 is often referred to as the faith step. Like I was just saying at the beginning. This is where we decided to turn our lives and our wills over to the care of God. At this point, you make a decision. So step 1 and 2, you're starting to learn. You're feeling it. You're stepping out, but you still haven't really committed. But when you get to step 3 is when you really have decided that you're going to make a decision. You've decided that your no way is longer working for you. You've tried to quit engaging in unhealthy, hurtful habits or hang up to no avail. You decide that something has got to give. Your decision leads you to say, I can't do this on my own, and I'm willing to give it to God and turn everything over to Him. Ain't it so amazing how that works, right? Like the human mind concept is that if I can hold on to this, if I can control this, if I can handle this, then it's going to be okay and it's going to be taken care of. When Jesus works right opposite. He says, no, if you give it to me and you let go of it, then I will take care of it and it'll be taken care of the right way. That's the decision that we come to in step 3. We've got to learn that our way is not working and that we've got to let go. We've got to have trust. We've got to have faith. And we've got to give it to Him to let Him work it out, right? In our last lesson, on the first part of step 3, on learning to trust God, I can't even remember what it was called. We had that discussion about it. It's not an anagram. It's anyways. Trust. The first step in the process of trusting God is to turn it over to Him, right? Give your hearts, your insecurities, addictions, relapses, divorce, pain, suffering, failures, doubt, lies, all the bad stuff. You got to learn to give it over to God. Truly give it. Then you got to learn to give Him the good stuff. Give Him your hopes, your desires, your dreams, your plans, your marriage, your kids, your finances, your job, everything. I know personally this is probably one of the hardest steps to walk through. It's very easy to say that I trust and I'm going to give. But yet I find myself still worrying and stressing and trying to take control of and doubting, and that's not true trust. That's not real faith. My career, my job is a big one. Like I work in sales, so it's like if this don't go right or this person gets mad, then what if I lose them as a customer? What if this happens? What if that? All the what ifs start to play in, but yet God says that cast every worry and care upon Him. We're already going to be clothed. We're already going to be fed. We're already going to be taken care of. What minute am I going to add to my life by sitting here and thinking about these what ifs? Better yet, what minute am I taking away from his life or Paige's life or my other kid's life by sitting there sulking and worrying and stuck in the what ifs? There really is true power to letting go and putting your trust into God to let Him take control of everything. Next, you start with R. So T, of course, we're spelling out trust, right, you guys? I went to a lot southern school than here, so my ability to spell is a lot worse than Haskell. So I got you guys beat. So we're spelling out trust. T is trust God. R is rely on God. You begin developing God reliance and ditching your self-reliance. You start living out Proverbs, and if you haven't, write this verse down, study it, live by it, speak it. You start living out Proverbs 3:5-6, and you begin to trust in the Lord to direct your steps rather than leaning on your own other understanding. I cannot express the power that is in that. To lean not on your own understanding. You have got we're human. We always want to be right. We always think we're right. We always think we know the right way. We always think we know what's best. But yet our ways are not God's ways. What we see is not what God sees. What we know is not what God knows. And you got to lean not on your own understanding. If you try to understand what God is doing, you're going to sit here and build all these what ifs, and you're going to sit here and try to, oh, he's doing it this way, or he's doing it that way, or you're going to put him in a box, or you've got to be able to just let go. I know you hear it all the time, paraphrase. You got to let go and let God. Got to be able to rely on him and lean not on your own understanding. And then begin giving him the glory for helping you stay on the right path, right? And then it's not, oh, I did it. It's God did it. Give him the glory for it. Next is you. Unplug from unhealthy influences. I'm not going to read all that. Y'all pretty much know what that means. You got to unplug from unhealthy influences. S is trust that you... The S in trust is that you decided to surrender your life and will to God. You give it all to him. Surrendering everything is a process. Keep giving even if you struggle with complete surrender. Just because this is one thing that the enemy would hit me with so hard as I would, in a moment, I knew that it was time to surrender something. Whether it was big or whether it was small. And I would surrender it. And whether it was a couple of days, a couple of hours, a couple of minutes, a couple of months, I would go right back to it. And in that moment, the enemy would make me feel defeated. But that does not mean you're defeated. You continue to surrender. You continue to work at it. You continue to plug away. That does not mean you have been beaten or defeated. It just means that you got to work a little harder at it. Maybe there's something deeper you need to dig into, right? Surrender your life and your will to God. You give it all to him. Surrendering everything. Well, I done read that. It's a process. By working the steps daily, you will gradually learn to trust in God. The last step in learning to trust in God is talking to him. A very big part. I think a lot of people lack in, especially in the beginning of their recovery or their struggles or what they're going through. And by talking to him, it's simply just saying prayer. Get in your prayer closet. Get in your alone time. Even in the shower, even when you're sitting at the work desk, even when you're anywhere, driving down the road, talk to him. That's how you build that relationship with God, right? You grow as you spend time communicating. Let me ask. Paige ain't here. Probably wouldn't want to ask her this question. It's better to ask you guys this question. I don't even know. Probably not best. I'll ask Amy and Rick. How well would y'all's relationship work if Rick done all the talking and you done all the listening? And that was the only way the relationship ever happened. From the whole time y'all got married till the end. If that was, Okay, well, then I can't ask right opposite then, Rick, because, obviously you listen all the time and she talks, so it's already there. Well, y'all just destroyed that example. He said, I've learned to be quiet. Thank you guys for being amazing examples. Y'all have really helped out the situation. Paige, I hope you're watching and you heard that. Yeah, you never listened to me. I done told you that. Yeah, I was listening. No, or you'd remember. No, I just forgot. But I was listening, I promise. Troy, what about you guys? I mean, what if you done all the talking all the time and she done all the listening? I mean, how well would that relationship work out? That's it, I quit. He said that would be amazing. Okay, maybe I started something I shouldn't have. It'd be very one-sided. Thank you for coming back to where I was trying to get to. It would not be productive. Exactly. Great examples. Hang on, I'm gonna let this scuffle finish before. No, I'm playing. Exactly what was just said. It wouldn't be productive. There would be no growth. It'd be one-sided. Now think about that when you think about your prayer time. How much time do you spend asking God for something? How much time do you give him 30 seconds of sitting there saying, Lord, I need this, 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 and then you get up and you walk off? How often do you really sit there and you pray, and then after you pray, you just be still and you be silent and you listen? That is a very crucial part to building your relationship with our Heavenly Father, because he will speak to you. Whether it's in your mind, it's in your heart, it's a song you hear, we've got to learn that this relationship is two-sided. We must talk to him, but we must also listen to him. All talk and no listening leads to a dysfunctional. Look, it gets more educated than we do. I think our explanation was better. It leads to a dysfunctional relationship. Talk to God and listen to God. Every chance you get, every day. I know I have started to make this. We were having a discussion about first love. We were talking about when we were sitting over there. Now, I've got back to this being a priority in my life because I still spend my prayer time every day, but I forgot about the listening part. And man, the difference it has made in the way I've started to see things and understand things and walk through parts of my life, it's mind-blowing just because I will spend the time afterwards to sit there and listen. And I know that it's God speaking to me because it's not things that the enemy would say. It's not things that my mind would make up on its own. It's things that I know that comes from my Father that helps me grow and develop my relationship. So I encourage you guys. Very important. So this brings us to part 2 of step 3, right? Tonight I will share with you on how to trust in God, how your trust in God will also translate into learning to trust others. That means people. Learning to trust the process of working to step 3. Trusting others, it hits home big time. Trusting others can be difficult, especially if you've been hurt deeply by those that you trusted at some point. So how do you learn to trust again? First is to spend time with people whose lives bear good fruit. Right? Make sure you're selective over who you put your trust in, is what it's saying. These are people who have a proven track record. They've been in recovery, they've been in church, they've been in ministry, and it's not just for a second. They have been there, they're stable, they are faithful, they are trustworthy, and their walk with Jesus is evident. You know, I think we live in such a instant gratification world, that we live in such a feelings right on the top of your flesh world right now, that it's so easy that somebody says the right thing you want to hear at that moment and you're going to trust them. But how crazy is that? You know, the Word teaches us that you don't. Mm. You know a tree by the fruit that it bears. And it is the same with people. The fruit that a person bears is what's going to be evident in the kind of person they are. They can sit here and say the words you want to hear all day long, but if their actions do not line up with what they are saying, then I would tend to say they're not really who they say they are. I mean, I used to always hear, if it walks like a duck and if it talks like a duck, then it must be a duck, right? Learn to put your trust in people that actually bear the fruit of the Spirit. Galatians 5:22 through 23, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. The fruit of the Spirit is also known as the Christian character. I promise you can't go wrong with spending time with people who display these things, right? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. The company you keep, oh boy, I can hear my grandpa saying it in the back of my head. The company you keep affects your behavior and your actions. He used to tell me that all the time. If you hang out with them, you might as well be them. Well, Papa, I'm not doing what they're doing. It don't matter because everybody else that sees you hanging out with them is going to assume that you're automatically doing what they're doing. Right? If you spend time with people who participate in actions or activities you're trying to rid yourself of, chances are that you're going to stumble right back into it. Ain't no chances. If it wants to put a number on chances, it'd be a 90% to a 10%. If you're going to try to walk out a new life, and that's not just in drugs and alcohol and recovery. If you're trying to walk out from anger, if you're trying to walk out from abuse that you've had in your life, if you're trying to walk out from whatever it is that you're struggling with, if it's gossip, if it's things that you know that God is trying to develop your character into a way to be used more powerful in His kingdom, if you surround yourselves and continue to walk with people and hang out with people that still have these same behaviors, I could almost bet my paycheck that it may be a day, it may be a week, it may be a month, it may be a year, but if you continue to hang out with them, you're going to be right back to doing the same thing that you were trying to walk away from. You can't put your trust and your time into the people that are doing the same thing that you're trying to get away from. Another way to learn to trust others is to become, another way to learn to trust others is to become more trustable. Being more trustable in your relationships with others, you will also begin to believe that others are more trustworthy. If you're somebody that says that you're going to do something, but you never do it, if you're somebody that says that you would never let something happen, but then you let it happen, if you're, I'm being very broad with examples here, but if you're that type of person that nobody can trust you, and it happens very fast, you give me 1, 2, 3 times of showing me that I can't trust you, obviously I'm not going to trust you, right? Until I see something different. But if you yourself are that same type of person, you're going to already build up a mentality that, well, nobody can be trusted. If I can act this way, or if this is the way that I see things, or this is the way that I do things, then how am I going to trust anybody else, right? You got to start practicing being a more trustable person yourself. And when I say that, yes, of course, in our marriage, being faithful, that's big. That's the number one. Not lying, that's a big number 2. But I'm talking about even in the small things. In every little promise you make, in every little word that you say, let your yes be yes and let your no be no. And be known for that. And continue to walk in that. If you have that mentality and you really work towards that, and it's not easy at times, because you better believe the second that you say, I'm going to do this, there's things that are going to come against it. There's things that are going to try to pull you or detour you or want your eyes to go a different direction. But if you continue to be and do what you say you're going to do, you will build a trust within yourself that will help you to be able to trust others. Follow through with your commitments. Be a man of your word or woman of your word. being a trusting friend, and others will reciprocate. The golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Lastly, you have to decide to trust. I really want you to think about it. Like, dig deep for us that are here tonight. You think, I don't have a problem trusting people, do you? Are you really able to trust? When I say trust, you truly trust. Like with everything that you have, if they tell you they're going to do something, you can say, oh yeah, I believe you. In the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, right. No, can you really put your trust into people that are worthy of receiving that trust? You've got to decide to trust. Give people who exhibit good fruit the benefit of the doubt. That's how you'll establish good friendships. Choosing not to trust others can lead to isolation and loneliness. Healthy relationships in recovery are essential. I actually had this conversation today before I even went over this message with a gentleman that's been here with us before. He's not here tonight, and he had a prior obligation. And we got to talking about some other things, and I asked him how he was doing and how he was feeling, and he said, tonight is going to be the first night that I'll be home alone and I won't have my kids. He said, that's what I'm scared of the most. Isolation. An idle mind is the devil's playground. You've got to be able to put your trust into people to have those relationships. And I hope that he trusts me, because I told him, hey, call me. If I need to come over, I don't care what time it is, I'll come over. And if you're walking through things like that, you've got to have people that you trust, that if you pick up that phone and call them, they're going to answer, and they're going to show up at your doorstep, and they're going to walk you through whatever you need to walk through, right? The next question is, why is it important to trust others? The first reason is you can't do this alone, literally. In isolation, the devil can get a foothold. You are left a prisoner of your own thoughts. You begin to believe you can't stay sober. You forget how bad it was before, or how good it can be if you stay on the road to recovery. That's where my biggest trusting is in my wife. Paige reminds me all the time when I get my doubts, or I get my thoughts, or I start leaning one direction or another direction. She will remind me very quickly where God has brought me from and what he's done for me. And, there's been a lot of times, if it wasn't for that reminder of somebody that I trust in, where would I have turned to or went back to? Right? Rick, that's part of your testimony. It was so easy for you to walk in things when nobody knew about it. But once God opens you up to trust in your wife to share these things with her, she became your accountability partner that kept you from being able to walk back in that area you didn't want to be in, right? You can't do recovery alone. Proverbs 18:1, whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. That's true. If you don't want to trust anybody, if you want to try to do this on your own, or don't be around people, majority of the time it's because you want to go after your own desires. He breaks out against all sound judgment. You don't want to hear people tell you, hey, this is wrong. And a majority of the time, that's what we need to hear. But if we don't trust that person, we're not going to receive it. You've got to be able to trust people that bear good fruit. So when you have a stupid thought, you can call them and say, hey, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to say this, and they tell you, delete that text message, and you delete it before you send it, right? Or you don't get in your truck and drive somewhere that you shouldn't be. Anyways, relationships are essential in your recovery journey. Once again, you can't do it alone. The second reason, and this is very important, to trust others. Okay, let me ask this question first. And we're almost close to the end. I'm going to skip over a majority of the rest of this. This is the main part I wanted to get to. Who does God use on this earth to share his word? Everybody's in this room, right? Who does God use to pray for you when you need miracles? Who does God use when you can't pay rent, or you can't pay a bill, or you can't take care of something? Who does God use and put on their mind to decide, hey, I need to help somebody? So how can you, who does God use to preach his gospel every Sunday? Pastor, a human, a person. If you cannot put your trust in people, you'll never be able to receive what God has for you. You'll never be able to hear the good news that he has to get out. You'll never be able to believe that you are not too far gone. You're not able to recover. You're not this bad of a person. You'll never be able to receive any of it or believe any of it or to receive anything that he has for you if you can't trust in the words that comes to the vessels that he has chosen to use on this world, right? It's very important. God uses others to encourage you and to speak truth into your life. He uses them to challenge you and to hold you accountable. I said 3 questions, and the last one is, who should you trust? But we've already been over that. Now, I'm not saying just go turn on the TV and you hear this preacher speaking a word and I trust in that. No, you've got to be smart. You've got to use common sense. You've got to look for the fruit that they bear. And if they bear the fruit, they bear good fruit, and you know it, then allow yourself to trust in them and listen to what they have to say. And it will help you grow tremendously. I know I'm still very young, and that was hard for me big time because of my trust issues, and then I'm hard-headed on top of that, and I have little man syndrome. So, I couldn't listen to anybody's advice because only I knew what was best for me, even in my walk with God. But once I started to learn to put my trust into other people who I have watched walk these steps, I have watched them be faithful, I've watched them be joyful, I've watched them be peaceful, I've watched them bear the good fruits of the Spirit, I've watched their actions actually show who they say they are, and I started to allow myself to receive the wisdom and the knowledge that they were trying to teach me because they had personally been through things that I hadn't. They'd already seen the outcome of roads that I was walking before I ever got there. And God would use them to teach me things that I needed to know before situations even arose. You got to be able to trust people that bear good fruit, to build relationships for one, and for two, to be able to receive what God has for you. You've heard it said before, birds of a feather flock together. Spend time soaring with eagles rather than running with scavengers. And your life will bear good fruit too. Buzzards. That was pretty good. Don't be a buzzard. Don't hang out with buzzards either. Rick just ruined it. The whole lesson. This month we have learned a very valuable recovery skill, and that is trust. And it's not one that you can just say, I'm going to do it. It's one that has to be practiced. It really has to be sought after. And you really have to pay attention to who you put your trust in. It's so easy to want to put your trust in somebody you've known for a long time, or or somebody you've been around, or somebody that acts the same way that you do, or dresses the same way you do, or it's so easy. Yeah, but what kind of fruit do they bear? What do their actions show? What path are they leading you down? Or if you've never been able to trust because of the trauma that's happened in your life, learn that God wants you to be healed from that so you can trust the right people and not the people that hurt you, because he's got better for you in life. I'm not going to finish the rest of that. I really hope that this hit home. It's very important. Trust and faith go hand in hand. You can't trust in God if you don't have faith in him. You can't have faith in God if you don't trust in him. And that word gets thrown around just like the word love does so wildly without knowing the true meanings behind it. Really understand what you're saying and what you're pursuing after. And really go after a deep trust in the Lord. And not just say you will, but really let go of everything and to give it to him, to really trust in him that his word is a living word, and that it's going to do everything that it says it's going to do, and it's going to bring forth every promise that it says it's going to bring forth. And it's going to, no matter what you see, hear, feel, think, no matter what the road looks like, no matter at the moment if you're in a storm, if you're on a hill, if you're in a valley, it doesn't matter. If your trust is fully in him, you know what the end result is going to be. You've also got to be able to trust in people. You've got to. You cannot stay in your shell. You cannot stay at home anymore. You can't stay away. You can't be unfriendly and decide, well, I'm just going to block myself off from the world because the world has hurt me. And if I just cut myself off from it, then I cut off any ability to be hurt again. It's not what God wants for you either. Tonight I want to offer something a little different to close out. I feel like if there's anybody that struggles in this area, and y'all can cut us off on this.